Remember to intervene immediately and get help from another adult if you need. Separate the students involved. The imbalance of power makes it unfair for the victim. Feeling threatened will deter honesty. Make sure everyone is safe and attended to medically and mentally. Stay calm and respectful, and reassure all students involved. Here's what simply does not work and should be avoided: ignoring or jumping into a conflict and trying to sort out the facts. Don't question anyone in front of peers, and do not ask students to apologize on the spot. It is critical that you do not try to mediate a situation of bullying or violence. Bullying is not a mediation issue. One of the characteristics of bullying interaction is a power differential between the student who bullies and the student being bullied. Unfortunately, power differentials cannot be mediated. The student who bullies and the student being bullied should be worked with separately. As students and adults are interviewed, keep all students involved separate. Listen to several sources, including adults and students. This is not the time to blame, simply listen. Be careful not to call the act bullying during this stage, and collect all available information. Don't fall into the trap of trying to find out who started it. Some students who are bullied may be perceived as annoying or provoking. However, this does not excuse the bullying behavior. Once all information has been collected, determine if it is, in fact, a bullying situation. There are many behaviors that look like bullying but require different approaches. Are there repeated acts? Consider the history between students involved. Have there been past conflicts? Is there an imbalance of power, physically, socially, or mentally? And is it persistent or pervasive? Has it happened before, or is there worry that it will happen again? And remember to keep things in perspective. Depending on the severity of the behavior, a warning, documentation, and a teaching opportunity may be all that's needed. And if subsequent incidents occur, include documentation of all prior behaviors and consequences on a formal bullying incident form. This is available on the Columbus City Schools intranet. Students have the right to anonymously disclose they or someone they know have been harassed, intimidated, or bullied by another student. School personnel must report those incidents to the school principal or designee, and a thorough investigation must take place. Parents of involved students shall be notified within 3 days of the reporting, and, to the extent permitted by federal and state law, have access to any written reports pertaining to the prohibited incident. Cyberbullying is just what it sounds like: bullying through internet applications and technology, such as IM, chatting, social networks, text, YouTube, defamatory websites, and the seemingly ancient to student form, email. Here are several types of cyberbullying. Students who sext may face charges of producing, processing, and/or distributing child pornography, a serious crime in all states. Federal laws also treat all sexually explicit images as child pornography. If prosecuted, students could spend their lives on a sex offender registry. Other consequences of sexting include damage to one's reputation, refused admission to the college of one's choice, and loss of future employment. This video gives insight to the origins of the Jessica Logan Act.
Jessie Logan was full of life. She was 18 years old and ready to graduate from high school, but a foolish mistake changed her world and her family's.
She snapped It was just too much for an 18-year-old girl to go through.
We met Jessie's mother, Cynthia, last May. Jessie agreed to do a story with us about kids using their cell phones to take nude pictures of themselves. Jessie did it, thinking only her boyfriend would see it. But in the world of technology and kids being cruel, Jessie's private picture was sent to hundreds of cell phones to schools all over the city for everyone to see. We protected her identity, but she was clearly humiliated.
I still get harassed and stuff, and I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that no one else will ever have to go through this again.
But at home, at school, with her friends, the teasing and taunting continued long after our interview. Cynthia calls it torture.
She was called filthy names. Things were thrown at her.
It was so bad, Jessie started skipping school.
I took her car away, and when I dropped her off, somebody would take her out, or she would hide all day in school.
Even though her grades plummeted, Jessie silenced the laughter and graduated with her class at Sycamore High School. Cynthia thought finally that one silly picture was behind them.
Every single place she went, they knew about that picture. They saw the picture, they knew about the picture.
So the teasing continued.
It's abuse. She was abused.
2 months after our interview, Jessie went to a funeral of a teenager who committed suicide. She came home and did the same thing.
And I scanned the room, and her closet doors were open. And I walked over into her room and saw her hanging. Her cell phone was in the middle of the floor.
It started with that cell phone, but Cynthia says it never should have ended this way.
The police department didn't protect her. The school didn't protect her. She had no one.
5 teenagers were involved with sending out Jessie's picture, but none of them were ever charged. Since then, the problem with teens sending nude pictures has gotten so bad, the Montgomery Police Department recently charged one student for forwarding a nude video of a girl.
Almost 8 months later, my daughter is buried in the ground. Are you kidding me? Where were you?
The school resource officer did not want to go on camera, but insists Jessie didn't want charges to be filed for fear she'd be harassed even more. He also says he did take Jessie's case to the prosecutor, but because she was 18, they couldn't charge the other students even if they wanted to. As for Sycamore High School,
why didn't you send out notices to parents? Where were you?
The superintendent says the school didn't take disciplinary action because the picture wasn't taken on school property. She insists that Jessie was offered counseling and they were doing everything they could to help her, and later warned parents about the growing problem with cell phones during a school forum. But Cynthia insists it wasn't enough.
But to have a nude photo being disseminated throughout the school of your child, how would you feel as a parent? Wouldn't you want other parents to know?
As painful as it is, Cynthia wants parents and students to know what happened so it doesn't happen again. Her only child is gone.
And she said, "I love you, Madre." I said, "I love you, baby. And I'll see you soon."
All she has now are the memories.
Once a video, image, or idea is sent into cyberspace, damage can be done quickly with a potential audience of hundreds, thousands, or millions across time and space. The loss of power is intensified exponentially. Young people often share too much information, which should be kept secret. Login information, for example. Look at this one. Anne was Barb's friend. Anne knows Barb's screen name and password. Anne pretends to be Barb and sends hurtful, untrue messages about Carol. Carol's hurt, but gets mad and retaliates against Barb. Barb seeks revenge against Carol by sending a text to a group of friends with a picture of Carol's head on a pig. and laugh secretly. Here's another real-life example. This one not only leads to social shame and confusion for Betty, but also affects her school attendance. Using a fake identity, John creates a page on a social networking site. He calls it the We Hate Betty site. John invites friends to post nasty and hateful messages about Betty, all using fake identities. Soon, there are lots of mean comments about Betty. After a while, Betty is shown the hate page. Betty is devastated by the messages. She stops attending school so she doesn't have to see anyone. Also, she no longer knows who her real friends are. Cyberbullying is, in a sense, easier to commit but more difficult to receive. It can be done anonymously in a private space where it's difficult for adults to technically supervise, and has an infinite audience. It occurs almost instantaneously, and it is difficult to stop once in cyberspace. Young people have 24-hour access to a variety of personal technologies that provide a sense of anonymity. They may not relate their online persona to their real-world self. They may see this type of activity as fun or joking and get some type of positive reinforcement out of it. Young people are very impulsive and do not think about the impacts or consequences. They may be naive or simply making up rules as they move forward with very little adult guidance. The Ohio Department of Education's anti-bullying policy revised codes includes electronically transmitted acts. A tweet or series of tweets sent outside of school hours may be sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive enough to create an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment for other students or school personnel. Watch for warning signs of nervousness or jumpiness, a change in mood, headaches or upset stomach, decline in schoolwork or grades, or becoming abnormally withdrawn. Even if cyberbullying occurs off of school grounds, it can cause enough mental harm to create an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment and interfere with the learning process. In this case, cyberbullying should be investigated in the same manner as any other bullying situation. Never forward or send cyberbullying or sexting to anyone. However, monitor the students in the school and investigate. Administrators should notify the police if aggressive behavior is criminal. Here are some examples of behaviors that constitute crime. Adults play a major role in creating and maintaining school climate that is either supportive and healthy or not. Schools where high levels of bullying exist will benefit from evaluating and making positive changes to the overall school climate. Make sure the entire staff is on board by hosting professional development on positive school climate. Implement and maintain evidence-based bully prevention. Promote student involvement, diversity, and leadership. Collaborate with families and community. Inform parents about the prevalence, causes, and consequences of bullying. Prevention and intervention should be ongoing school-wide, in the classroom, and with individual students. Data collection and analysis should guide decision-making at each of these levels. Bully-proofing or prevention should be based on your school-wide behavioral expectations. Remember, respect is the extreme opposite on the spectrum of violence. It should be taught, modeled, reinforced, and corrected fluently. Exclusion and blame do not work. Instead, define, teach, and reward school-wide expectations. Teach students to identify when they feel disrespected and how to respond. A universal stop signal helps reluctant students physically muster up enough courage to ask others to stop. Teach all students what to do if someone delivers a stop signal, including the recipient and bystanders. When done school-wide, this becomes a shift in the culture of the school. Analyze discipline data to determine where and when bullying occurs. Work with support staff, such as cafeteria staff, bus stop, and playground monitors, as well as bus drivers, who may observe bullying incidents that unfold outside of the classroom. Establish a student leadership committee to plan, implement, and evaluate your school's bullying or violence prevention program. And establish a school culture of acceptance, tolerance, and respect. A school-wide stop signal might be decided upon by the student body. You might use words such as stop, or enough, or don't. Give students scenarios and allow them time to practice, share, and discuss appropriate times to use the stop signal. If it works, both parties can either talk to work out the misunderstanding or simply end the situation and wait until both parties are calm enough to work it out. This simple procedure teaches students to set and respect boundaries. If a student asks another to stop and the behavior continues, teach them to walk away from the situation. Walking away removes the reinforcement for the problem behavior. If a student walks away from a situation and is being followed, they should go directly to a trusted adult and ask for help. It will take time, patience, reinforcement, and reteaching to shift the culture of the school. It only works if adults in the building know their part in these procedures. For more information on the Stop, Walk, Talk, visit www.pbis.org and view the Bully Prevention Manual, or call the Student Support Office and schedule a staff workshop.